Hi, welcome back to Git presentation series. This is B.S. Satyadev, Assistant Professor, VNR VJET, Computer Science Department. In the last presentation, we talked about the various approaches connecting local Git to the remote Git, but we haven't really seen how they are done actually. We just mentioned about at a high level, we mentioned what are the approaches. Also, we have seen the various commands, that when the linking is already done, like fetch command, pull command, push command, merge command, and delete commands. We have seen all that stuff. Now, in this presentation, we are going to see how to link a local repository with Git repository from the perspective of remote repository. That means GitHub. I already told you about that. Is we use this approach one in a scenario where you have freshly got into the project which is already running. That means you don't have nothing in your local machine, but the project is already there on a remote host. In that scenario, you want to get everything onto your local machine first time. So everything is there in the GitHub as a project. You want to get that project into your local repository. That's what we are going to do. So let's get into the next slide. Okay, so now as we discussed, we already have this remote repository created. So this is the repository. A Git test repository is the repository in the GitHub. Again, GitLab also almost the same concepts, but we have chosen GitHub. Now you click on the code, and when you click on the code, you see this thing like the pop-up drop down. In that HTTPS, you see this. Actually, this is Git, right? So URL, right? So you have to click on this one to copy this URL, or you can manually copy it also. But clicking on this icon would actually copy the URL. So first you do that, then that's what it's talking about. As remote Git is created in the Git bash window of local machine, traverse to a folder location where the remote project needs to be installed and linked with. Then following command needs to be executed, which is git clone remote git URL. So the URL, whatever you copied, we are going to put it here. So basically, like I said, in our local machine, we have nothing. The project is not there. In that context, what we need to do is we have to go to a directory where we want to have the project. That means it is parent for the actual project. This is not a Git repository. The directory is not a Git repository, but we are going to create a remote repository in this directory. Go to that one level above to our repository. So wherever you want to have the repository, go there. So this is what the actual is. So run git clone command, then run git status after moving to the clone folder. Now this is the folder. So the folder at a high level, VNR, VJET presentations, Git is the root folder. Again, this is not, even though name says Git, it's not a Git repository. It's just a folder. Now in that, I went to that Git folder. I said git clone https github.satyabi. whatever the Git project name, repository name. I just provided this as an argument to the git clone command. Now what it does is it pulls down all the stuff from remote host to locally. So, and it also creates a folder called git test repository. Now where is this? This is not created by us. It is created by the pull command that internally the git clone command calls. Now basically, where is this project? This is the project. Git test project. This is the project we are talking about, which contains 3 files. So this is the project we are talking about. So it automatically created that project and made it into a Git repository. You say CD. So when you say CD on the project, we get into the project. Now you can see after Git there is no main or master, right? But here, once you say CD, you see main. That means Git is not a Git repository, but Git test repository is a repository. I think I already told you about this, the branch name in parentheses, right? So then you say git status command. It says, like as I discussed earlier, git status will tell you what are the files that are affected or changed with respect to the local server. Again, we are talking about local, right? So that's what it says. Branch is updated with origin main. That means for the remote main branch, we are up to date. Nothing to commit. Working tree is clean. That's what it says. Now, what does git clone command do? So git clone command, the first thing that it does is creates a new subfolder. In our case, git test repository, whose name is same as that of the remote repository. So whatever name it will create the same name, right? So, and second thing it does is automatically initializes the that as a local git repository. That means internally it will call git init. So that is the reason we have seen this main here. When you go to C drive, you see main. That means it automatically converted that, it created the git test repository as a folder. Then it will run git init internally. So because of that, that becomes a git repository. Then the third thing that it does is adds the remote origin and fetches files from the remote. So it automatically adds the origin, like git origin minus set upstream command, right? We have seen it does this, does it auto. You don't have to type it. It will connect. That means it establishes a link between local and remote from the remote side, and it gets all the files from that remote repository. Next thing is checks out the default branch user. It makes sure that we are in the same branch. I mean, part of the third one actually. Then set tracking information. So again, this is part of 3 would actually do 4 and 5 automatically. So that means from going forward, you can say git push or git pull. You don't need to set origin or minus upstream and stuff like that, right? So that's pretty much what it does. Now, yeah. So in order to do that, in order to test pushing stuff from local to the remote, let's do some experimentation. So let's see what are cat, git add, commit commands. So the cat greater than local file.txt command. So this command opens a file called local file.txt. And in an append mode, file gets created if it is doesn't exist, and if it is already there, it opens in append mode. Allows user to type in the command window itself, and once the user presses Ctrl D, the file is closed and the input stream is also closed. Git add local file. This is already known, right? This will put file into staging, basically. Basically staging area, right? It does it. Then git commit command, it will actually put into local git repository. So basically you create a file, you put it into staging, then add it to the repository. Again, this is locally. Again, if this command gives errors if the configuration is not set properly. So you try to see git commit minus some local this thing. That's what I'm executing, right? So I cat greater than local file.txt, I pressed enter. I type this is a local file and then press Ctrl D here 2 times, like you have to type 2 times. So and I say Ctrl D, the file is created. Git add local file.txt. I will put this file into the staging area. Once it is staging, we are going to store it in the remote repository. Git commit minus local text file created. So this is I'm committing that file. Then it gave me an error. Please tell me who you are. That means you run these 2 commands to set your account default identity. Omit -- global to set the identity only in this repository. So basically this -- global in these commands, git config command, are optional. When we give them, that means it's one time for your entire machine, for one user. So you are logged into your computer, laptop as some user, right? For that user, you don't need to specify your email and name again and again. Even how many repositories you create. But if you omit this -- global in these git config commands, it will still add user email and name, but for that repository only. So again, you want to use some other email and name for some other repository, you could use that. If you want, you can omit this -- global command, right? That's pretty much what it is. That's pretty much what it is. That's what I did. Like git config -global. I made it global. I added my name, added my email ID. Then I said commit. Now this time it worked. Last time it didn't. Last time when I said commit, it didn't. Please tell me who you are. And when I set my email ID and username and any way this file. So it will commit the file, right? Successful git commit paving the way for git push. So now you have the file into the local git repository. It is there, but it is not there in the remote repository. What is the file you are talking about? Localhost.txt. So the configuration is corrected for username and email, and commit works with this git commit command. Success local file text gets pushed into the local git repository. Next step is to push the local file txt to upstream, that is remote repository on the GitHub. So git push command can be used to upload files that are stored permanently in git local git repository, remote git repository. Git pull command can be used to download files from remote repository into the local git repository. So basically we already saw that. This is what, like before calling git push, I just checked what is there in the file. As we discussed, 3 files are there, right? 3 files are, one is git ignore file, another is license file, another is readme.md file. So 3 files are there. Now now I am calling git push. Now you can see that called git push. So the file has been pushed. You don't need to pass any other commands because the origin is already set. When you say git clone in the very first thing, it automatically set that. We have discussed about it, right? So it doesn't say anything. It just kept quiet. Then you go and open it or refresh or whatever it is. Then you see this file is already added, local file.txt, right? So that means you use a push it from local to GitHub. It flown up and it is stored in the remote. So that's how you can call git push. I think that's pretty much what is approach 1. Basically approach 1 is for you have a remote repository but you don't have anything in locally. Then you call git clone and get everything stuff. Once you call git clone, you can use push, pull, anything to everything. So but git clone actually internally implements git pull, so you don't have to call git pull first time. But going forward, I mean that point onwards, you made changes or you want to get stuff, you need to call git pull. You want to update push, you want to call git push, right? That's pretty much. So thank you very much.
Like, share, comment, and subscribe VNR Digital Learning Resource YouTube channel.